Senator Elizabeth Warren appeared on CNBC's Squawk Box to talk to wealth hoarder and Trump supporter Joe Kernen, who is not very happy about the fact that Senator Warren is proposing an updated version of her wealth tax. Take a look.
So this is not punitive, right? We're not punishing okay, it's not punitive. So they haven't broken any laws to accrue all this wealth. Okay. Once then we are actually deciding that maybe they've made enough to a certain point where they don't need all of it. Now bear with me for a second. If you're going to do 2% on 50 million, and then when you get up to $1 billion and you're going to do 3%, if we've crossed the Rubicon and said you have more money than you can ever spend and you don't need it and you need to help out the rest of us, why not make it truly progressive and do 10% at $1 billion, do 20% at 10 billion? Why not do it that way? Once you get started and raise some real money, what would be the problem? Why would Bezos do 3% when some poor schmo at only 50 million does 2%?
Now, just in case you might think that this person is being earnest in his line of questioning, understand that he's trying to make a point. He's being clearly sarcastic there because he thinks that the wealth tax is arbitrary, it's ridiculous. He does believe that it's punitive and it's just a way of punishing the wealthy. And just to give you some more detail into what Warren is proposing here, her wealth tax would apply a 2% tax to individual net worth, including the value of stocks, houses, boats, and anything else a person owns after subtracting out any debts above $50 million. So understand that if your net worth is under $50 million, this proposal does not apply to you, okay? I'm pretty sure the vast majority of people are not worried about this tax hurting them. The only people that this affects are incredibly, tremendously wealthy individuals, many of whom, by the way, have been able to skirt paying taxes for decades thanks to all sorts of corporate tax loopholes, all sorts of deductions that only apply to the wealthy, all of those things that have led to massive inequality in the country. And by the way, this proposal is also going to increase the amount of the wealth tax. If someone has a net value over 1 billion, it would add an additional 1% surcharge for net worth over or above $1 billion. So I give you those details because that to me seems reasonable, Francesca. But for Joe Kernen on CNBC, it is punitive. This is nothing more than a punitive measure to punish the rich who worked real hard and earned everything that they have.
Nothing they did was illegal, right? And she's like, well, not quite sure, yeah. Unclear. We haven't fully audited them, not everyone. Surely people making over 50 million, there's some book cooking there. But it's very funny how he's trying to like separate the billionaires from the poor schmo $50 million earners. Like how many of those are there? Oh yeah, the couple, I don't know, 800 people in America. I mean, who are these people who are up in arms? No, homie, the whole thing is a bad faith argument against her. And like my only critique of the wealth tax is why not start it at 4 or 5, knowing you might get haggled down to the 2 or 3. Just start it a little bit higher. Who knows? We know the way things get laundered through our bipartisan system in Congress. But yeah, look, again, we are on the precipice, I hope, of a lot of billionaires crying. And I know we're gonna see more of that. And I can't wait for it.
Oh, I love it. Well, Kernen's not done. Warren did attempt to answer his question and he wasn't happy with the answer. Let's just quickly take a look at that exchange.
For just a minute, can we talk about what that 2 cent, 3 cent would be? It's not punitive on those at the top. They can still grow their fortunes. But here's the thing, it's enough for universal childcare. It's enough for universal pre-K. It's enough to make sure that every baby in this country has good care and to raise the wages of every childcare worker and preschool teacher in America.
You didn't answer me. No. Make it 10 times as good. Make it, if you're going to decide that some people have too much, and 50 million is too much. And you see, this looks to me like we're changing the rules of the game that go back centuries for if you've paid your taxes on the way in and accrued this. And a lot of these people would rather do really good things with the money than they don't think the government does it well. So, that's another issue that I'm hearing from a lot of people, that they want to give it to Harlem, the Harlem Fire, the things that they do. But go back to the original thing. Why not make it 5% or 10% on people that are really loaded?
Okay, I'm loving this morning. I cannot believe that I've gotten you to say that we should tax the rich more, Joe.
It's not hurting me.
But I'm
not hurting me,
I'm
Senator.
loving this moment. But
did you hear what he said? He's like, these rich people, they would rather, decide what to do with their money on their own, as if they're so philanthropic. All these wealthy people who have saved so much money in their taxes over the years, they've been so charitable. They've been so great to society. I mean, we all know that's BS. But then he tried to give an example, and he's like, rather than have the government do what they do, it's like, giving the money to Harlem. And I feel like he caught himself in a moment, but we heard what you said. It's too late. It came out of your mouth. Like, it's no surprise that this guy is a huge Trump supporter and is the first CNBC host anytime there's any type of legislation proposed to do something about the ever-growing inequality in this country. He's the one who loses his mind and cries about it immediately like a man-child on that show. It's so pathetic that these are the people who are allegedly delivering news and analysis to the American people. What a pathetic, small man. Jesus.
The saddest part is when he says it doesn't affect me, and I don't know if I believe him.
Sure.
Like, first of all, he's definitely friends with multimillionaires and billionaires. I don't know, maybe he's got $50 million worth of wealth. I wouldn't be on a show called Squawk Box if I were paid that much money. But hey, look, I'm not a sellout. But I also think it's really funny because that ideology, it's not just him. It's like, sad Elon Musk fanboys on Twitter being like, what, don't tax him, I'm gonna get the space truck or whatever his truck. And you're just like, oh, honey, you're never gonna be a millionaire. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that's not gonna happen. You know what we do have a chance at? Making a more even playing field. We have a chance to tax the ultra wealthy. We have a chance to fix our democracy. You have better chances at that than getting rich in this rigged capitalist economy. Sorry, bud. And so it is just funny to see other people doing the ideological bidding for these billionaires. But I will say that I don't know much about the tax structure. I also don't make $50 million, so I wouldn't know. But apparently our current tax structure has this gaping hole when it comes to people who are multimillionaires, in terms of it's like fairly taxed up until that point, and then it kind of like, we assume you're a good person and you've created a philanthropy for Harlem entity, which is what was his words, of course. Which, by the way, we all know all these nonprofits that mega billionaires and millionaires create are all for tax breaks and write-offs. Hello.
Yes.
And then of course it's like it's feeding even more of their free market ideology. And once they get tired of doing that, they start Breitbart, they start Newsmax. They're the Robert Mercers who move their oil money back into poisoning our minds. We know where they spend their money. Anywho, good for Elizabeth Warren. Always has a smile even when she's dealing with the most disingenuous hack.
I mean, I don't know how she did it there, because that man and the way that he talks about inequality in America always makes my blood boil. But I do want to note that he's not representative of how Americans actually feel about this proposal. As was reported in the New York Times, polls have consistently shown that Warren's proposal is winning the support of more than 3 in 5 Americans, including the majority of Republican voters. Because guess what? It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you're a worker in this country, you're noticing the inequality. You're experiencing it firsthand. And Warren has estimated that her initial proposal, the one that she rolled out back in 2020 when she was running for president, would raise $2.75 trillion over a decade. But the latest version would actually increase that number, which would begin to apply in 2023 if it were passed, to net worth as calculated in 2022. So the number would be much higher because of the fact that the wealthiest people in this country have continued to grow their wealth while the rest of us have been hit pretty hard by the coronavirus pandemic and the economic downfall that came along with that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.